Dear students, welcome to this audio lecture. The topic that I shall be discussing today in my lecture is the English poem The Solitary Reaper, written by William Wordsworth. Before I discuss the poem, let me first of all brief you a little bit about William Wordsworth, the poet. William Wordsworth, 1770 to 1850, is considered to be the founder of the Romantic movement in English literature. The history of Romantic poetry as a separate genre can be traced back to 1798, the year in which William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge published the famous collection of poems titled Lyrical Ballads. Since then, till almost the mid-19th century, Romantic poetry flourished, and a number of great poets emerged, like Samuel Taylor Coleridge, John Keats, P.B. Shelley, Walter Scott, Lord Byron, to name a few. William Wordsworth is undoubtedly considered to be the most central and prominent figure in English Romanticism. Wordsworth believed that the source of poetic truth is the direct experience of the senses, and hence followed a style of writing that focuses on imagination and emotion. Wordsworth is of the opinion that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, and its origin is in emotion recollected in tranquility. According to William Wordsworth, poetry should deal with incidents and situations from common life and use familiar language. That is, it should use language really used by men. Wordsworth's literary brilliance, depiction of emotions and feelings, relationship between nature and the human soul, truly makes him the greatest poet in the Romantic age of English literature. Now, students, let us start reading the poem. The entire poem is divided into 4 stanzas, and each stanza has 8 lines in it. Let us first of all read the first stanza of the poem The Solitary Reaper. Behold her, single in the field, yon solitary Highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. Alone she cuts and binds the grain and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. So in this first stanza, the poet, while traveling to the Scottish Highland valleys, comes across a Highlander, a young girl who is all alone reaping and singing simultaneously in an agricultural field. He tries to draw the attention of the other travelers or passers-by to the lonely Highland girl by calling them to quote-unquote behold her. The poet urges them to either stop and listen to her song or gently pass without disturbing her. The solitary reaper is cutting and binding the grain while singing a sad or a melancholic song. The poet again urges the travelers to listen to the melodious music of her sad song and feels as if the deep valley is overflowing with the soulful music. Let us now read the second stanza. No nightingale did ever chaunt more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. In the second stanza, the speaker compares the girl's singing to that of a nightingale and a cuckoo bird. He says that the song she sings is even more welcoming than any nightingale singing to a tired group of travelers in the Arabian desert. The poet mentions that the cuckoo bird sings welcome songs in springtime, which breaks the silence of the seas in the far-off Hebrides Islands. But according to the poet, the song of the reaper is sweeter than that of the nightingale and more thrilling than that of the cuckoo bird in springtime. Let us now read the third stanza. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old unhappy far-off things and battles long ago. Or is it some more humbly familiar matter of today, some natural sorrow, loss, or pain that has been or may be again? In the third stanza, the poet or the speaker here is unable to understand the theme or the subject matter of the maiden's song. He could only make out that the song is a sad song. He is utterly enchanted by the music and the tone of the song and wants somebody to tell him the theme of such a melodious song. The poet is unable to understand the Scottish dialect in which the girl sings. The poet imagines and speculates that the song might be about some old unhappy incidents or of some battles in the past. The song could also be about some familiar matter related to the life of the girl, and it might also be about some natural sorrow, loss, or pain which has happened to her. Now let us read the last stanza, that is the fourth stanza. Whatever the theme, the maiden sang as if her song could have no ending. I saw her singing at her work and over the sickle bending. I listened motionless and still, and as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. In the fourth stanza, the poet decides not to probe further into the theme of the maiden's song. He comes to the conclusion that whatever be the subject matter of her song, it has affected him deeply, and just like her work in the field, her song too seemed to be endless. He saw her singing and reaping in the field. He listened to it while standing quietly for a long time. But he was a traveler and he had to leave the place. And as he mounted up the hill, he carried the soulful music in his heart. Though the poet left the place physically and the song could not be heard anymore, but the song of the lonely reaper had a deep impact in his heart, mind, and soul, which he could never forget. Now, dear students, let us concentrate on the language and the form of the poem The Solitary Reaper, written by William Wordsworth. The entire poem The Solitary Reaper is actually written in the form of a romantic ballad, a narrative that tells a story. It was written in the year 1805 and was published in the year 1807. The poem is made up of 4 octaves, that is 8-line stanza, and follows a rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, C, C, D, D. I repeat, A, B, A, B, C, C, D, D, with a variation in the first and fourth stanzas. In the poem, end rhyme is used to make the stanzas very melodious. For example, profound, sound, still, hill, lay, day, grain, strain, and so on and so forth. The entire poem is written in iambic tetrameter, a line of poetry with 4 iambic feet, that is 4 beats of unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. For instance, behold her single in the field. I repeat, behold her single in the field. Here be is unstressed, hold is stressed, her is unstressed, sing is stressed, girl is unstressed, in is stressed, the is unstressed, and field is stressed syllable. So the entire poetry follows the same rhythm. Behold her sing in the field. And it continues. Now coming to the literary devices. What exactly are literary devices? Literary devices are tools that are used by writers to convey their emotions, ideas, and themes, to make texts more appealing to the reader. William Wordsworth has also used some of the literary and poetic devices in this poem, The Solitary Reaper, to make it very appealing. And some of the literary and poetic devices are rhetorical question. Now, what is rhetorical question? It's a sentence, that is posed to make the point clear. We don't expect any answer from such a question. For instance, will no one tell me what she sings? That has been, and maybe again, familiar matter of today. So these expressions are taken from the 3rd stanza of The Solitary Reaper, and they are in the form of rhetorical questions. The next common poetic devices that are usually used are assonance and consonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in the same line of poetry, and consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds in the same line of poetry. There are instances of assonance and consonance as poetic devices used by William Wordsworth in order to make the poem very appealing and soothing. Next is imagery. Imagery is used to make the readers perceive things involving 5 senses. For example, expressions like reaping and singing by herself. I saw her singing at her work. These are instances of imagery. And next is symbolism. Using symbols to signify ideas and qualities, giving them symbolic meanings different from literal meanings. For instance, in the 2nd stanza, cuckoo and the nightingale, birds, are actually symbols of sweet melodies, whereas the song of the lady symbolizes her intense pain and distress. So there is use of symbolism in The Solitary Reaper. The next literary device is enjambment. enjambment. It is defined as a thought in verse, that does not come to an end at a line break. Instead, it continues to the next line. For instance, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. I repeat, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. So, the thought in verse continues. It does not come to an end at a line break. It continues to the next line. And the next poetic device, literary device, is hyperbole. Hyperbole. It's a device that is used to exaggerate any statement for the sake of emphasis. For example, the below lines exaggerate the impact of her song. Oh, listen, for the veil profound is overflowing with the sound. So the poet says, oh, listen, for the veil profound is overflowing with the sound, as if the entire valley, the deep valley, is overflowing with the melodious and soulful music of the solitary reaper. So that is an exaggeration, and this poetic device, this literary device, is known as hyperbole. So to conclude, I would like to say that the poem The Solitary Reaper is about the hidden sorrow of a young girl who sings while working in the field. She outpours her strong emotions and feelings in the lap of nature. The poem illustrates how the speaker was enchanted by her song and claims that the song's beauty is matchless. The sweet melody of the reaper's song captures the speaker's heart and provides him with a never-ending bliss. Dear students, I hope this lecture would help you to some extent in understanding the subject matter, the theme, as well as the language that has been used in the English poem The Solitary Reaper, written by William Wordsworth. Hope to come up with more such lectures. Thanks for listening.